By the way, there's an article up at Infowars.com.
Is it getting better?
Headline, major studies out, SpongeBob causes short-term attention problems and basically lowering of the IQ in children. If you watch children's cartoons now, it's all disjointed. It doesn't make sense. The characters look disjointed and twisted. And people think, oh, well, that's just a new cool genre or style. No. It is about blurring reality and false reality. And with young developing minds, it can really screw them up. Archetypal, good, clean fantasy, very good for the brain, very good for creativity. I've read the major studies, read books on the subject. But these disjointed things that don't make sense, and then that's supposed to be funny for an adult, very detrimental to children's brains. Television watching itself leads to Alzheimer's, brain damage. If you're watching a lot of it, it puts you in a REM state. That said, please subscribe to PrisonPlanet.tv and watch us on television. No, seriously, we're reaching people through the matrix and through the system with news and information. And we're really busting our hind ends at PrisonPlanet.tv. The new nightly news program is very, very popular. People are really loving it. I know I'm really enjoying doing the show, condensing the information, focusing it down, the on-the-street reporters, the video interviews. We're going to get more reporters. We're going to add more shows. I've got a big plan here. And if you're not a PrisonPlanet.tv member, you get all my films, my book, Paul Watson's book, expanded extras, special reports, the nightly news, 15 cents a day, $5.95 a month. You can get a yearly membership and get 3 months free. If you believe in alternative media, if you believe in really giving the globalists a run for their money, become a PrisonPlanet.tv member today. Check out some of the new media things we've launched at InfoWarsNews.com. That's InfoWarsNews.com. And again, we'll be on tonight, 7 o'clock. All right, let's go back to Webster. Webster, quickly here. We have called it all with precision. NATO, U.S. troops were there 6 months ago, called advisors. Now they admit larger U.S. ground forces are going onto the ground. As we said in September, October, here it is. Turns out Gaddafi, they've now gotten his intelligence briefs. He knew it was coming from intermediaries in Congress he was talking to. And here's Fox News. U.S. boots on the ground in Libya. Pentagon confirms. And former congressman says he saw NATO troops behead Libyans. Walter Fontroy. What do you think of that, Webster? You've been there.
Walter Fontroy, let me just say who that is. That important guy. The District of Columbia, as people know, does not have a voting member in the House, which, of course, they should. They should have two. They got more people than Wyoming, so they should have two voting congressmen. But for a long time, they've had delegates. And Walter Fontroy is a veteran. He goes back to Martin Luther King. This is a fighter for civil rights who has a very impressive record. And he was replaced some years back by Eleanor Holmes Norton here in the district. But he's kept up with the causes. And he was over there, and he was with Mahdi Darius, Nazem Rawaya, and Thierry Masson in that at Carinthia Hotel. And later on moved around. And some of the other guys made it out through Malta on a harrowing 36-hour trip on the Mediterranean. But I guess Fontroy, I'm not up on the details right now with Fontroy, but I'm glad he's safe because this is a person of great merit and, kind of an elder statesman of civil rights.
No, because he was black.
He's black.
I was about to say because he was black, he had to hide for a month because Al-Qaeda under NATO command was trying to kill him, and he watched out windows, he's now reporting, as they murdered blacks en masse. He had to hide because Al-Qaeda was going to kill him.
Absolutely. That's the Benghazi, Tobruk, Darna axis of terror. And we know that the guy, this awful guy, Hasidi Hassadi Belhaj, that's all the same guy. He operates under numerous aliases, right? But he's...
Stay there, Webster. Stay there. Stay there. Stay there. I'm going to do 5 more minutes with you, then calls and news. I got to apologize to stations that Webster does not like Al-Qaeda. You know, even if you want to put Al-Qaeda in charge of Libya and give them tens of billions of dollars and heat-seeking missiles, you believe that's patriotic as the government says to do it. Still, you've been lied to. I mean, the West started the war, started the attempted overthrow. It was an unpopular uprising. We're now 6+ months into the Al-Qaeda uprising. 5 months with the peace bombing effort launched by Lord Obama, and, of course, the Italians and the French and the British. But now, here they are like we're idiots. U.S. boots on the ground in Libya, Pentagon confirms Fox News. Despite repeated assurances from President Obama and military leaders that the U.S. would not send uniformed military personnel to Libya, where U.S. service members arrived. 4 U.S. service members arrived on the ground in Tripoli over the weekend. 4? I mean, 3 months ago, I had guests on who I confirmed who they were, who said that there were dead U.S. troops coming in from Libya. And then foreign media videotape Europeans and Americans firing weapons. Webster, you were there during all of this. I mean, they talk to us like we're children, Webster.
I believe the report was that a boat carrying U.S. and other NATO special forces arrived in Benghazi around the 15th or 16th or 17th of February, somewhere in there. You remember that Dutch special forces were captured. British special forces and MI6 were captured by, in some cases, by the Benghazi rebels themselves. So we got the situation where the military commander of the city of Tripoli is Belhaj Hasidi Hassadi.
Going to Tarpley, this is really unspeakably wild because it's backed up by what you witnessed. It's backed up by Reuters, even Washington Post. Even Al Jazeera, that's pro-war, has had to admit, yeah, there's piles of dead black people everywhere, women, children, men. They take them out and kill them, even though, of course, there's black Libyans. And you reported on that going on in the East months and months ago. It was confirmed, hanging black men from lamp poles. But we now have a well-known, respected former U.S. congressman or delegate from the District of Columbia, but technically a congressman, Walter Fauntroy, said that he had to hide out for a month, that he was presumed dead, for those that didn't know, and that he was having to hide out and took him a month to get out because blacks were being killed on the spot. And we know even Anglo reporters were being sniped and shot by al-Qaeda and NATO forces. This is a new level of war crime. But I guess because Obama is heading it up, there won't be any war crime charges because he's the man of peace, because he was given that peace prize.
I think it's a tremendous embarrassment now for Obama in the black community to have an eyeball witness of the moral authority and historical stature of Delegate Fauntroy. That's going to be something Obama will have to deal with. It's going to hurt him a lot. The other thing is, these are the new vandals, right? The new al-Qaeda rulers of Libya are like the vandals. Those were the ones, you know, they came out of Asia. They went all the way around through Spain and into North Africa. They took over Libya, and then they started taking over Sicily and Sardinia and Corsica, and that's who sacked Rome in 476, right? That's the end of the empire. So what you're going to have is al-Qaeda pirates in the Mediterranean, and just a couple of examples. There's this guy Salabi, right? We just went through Belhaj. Belhaj is bad enough. Salabi came out a couple of days ago. He's another one of these terrorist commanders who's now, you know, the boss of Libya, and he says that the former Gaddafi ministers in the Benghazi Rebel Council are no longer acceptable to the killers. In other words, the gunmen want to get rid of these former Gaddafi guys, and that means Jalil is the head of state, and Jibril is the head of government, the guy who pals around with Hillary Clinton. And it sounds to me like they're getting ready to eliminate those two. This guy, Salabi and Belhaj, those guys are prime suspects, along with Hifter, in the killing of Yunus, right? The military commander of the rebels was assassinated a little bit more than a month ago now, and there were unconfirmed reports over the weekend that Jalil had been assassinated, that the head of state of the rebels had simply been gunned down.
Yeah, so the rebels are busy killing each other, and al-Qaeda is starting to knock people out so they can fully take over. And undoubtedly, the West is going to be very proud of that and think that the public has no memory. And in a couple of years, we'll be having to give up our liberties and invade Libya again to battle al-Qaeda. And they'll probably even claim that al-Qaeda is working for Gaddafi or something.
Well, here's another scenario. You get the al-Qaeda regime in Libya to invade Algeria, and then the U.S. invades Algeria to protect them from al-Qaeda or some variation on that. Because remember, Algeria is now a target. That's another big country, big oil producer, very valuable place. Algeria has not supported the al-Qaeda rebellion in Libya at all, and the U.S. is furious. They always wanted to overthrow Algeria. Algeria has 50,000 Chinese workers, and the U.S. and the British want them kicked out. So Algeria, big target in the coming weeks.
Very interesting, Webster. But again, is there any way to start some type of war crimes movement for the racial genocide going on? But I mean, that's naive. The UN ran the Ivory Coast invasion that killed tens of thousands, and admittedly, their rebel forces were slaughtering people en masse. This is truly a criminal group drenched in blood at every level.
I think that stopping the support of al-Qaeda and stopping this imperialist interference should become an important program point in an emerging mass strike movement. And again, if we have the collapse of the European banking system over the next 2 months, which I think is more than likely, that will soon be followed by a banking panic in the United States. And then we will need to implement a recovery program and the mass strike, right? What began in Wisconsin in February, I think will come back on a much larger scale after having gone underground for 6 months or whatever it's been. And at that point, this will be some demand that can be raised. I don't, and 9/11 also gets fed into that. In other words, we want to stop the drills, stop the totalitarianism, stop false flag attacks, and that's part of the general movement to break the power of the Wall Street finance oligarchy, because that's the enemy, that's the goal. Wall Street, Wall Street, Wall Street. Fight bankers. That's the great point.
Webster Tarpley, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your analysis.
Bye-bye, Alex. Congratulations on your program.
Oh, the television show? Thank you, Webster.
Yeah, right.
You don't need me to tell you that humanity is in a deep crisis. Everyone can feel it. We know a tectonic struggle is now taking place between the forces of freedom and those who love darkness, bondage, and enslavement. Yes, my friends, evil is rising. But take heart. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Recently, New World Order operative Hillary Clinton admitted they're losing the info war.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
The globalists are scared. They've overreached. The future of the info war is in your hands. Join PrisonPlanet.tv. Download the thousands of special video reports, ebooks, and more, and get them out to everyone you know. Continue to spread the word about the broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and every other globalist propaganda platform. We are going to use their system against them. The info war now goes into high gear.